Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidates, presented by the Dallas Examiner. I'm Molly Finch Belt, publisher of the Dallas Examiner. The Dallas Examiner has presented Monday Night Politics for over 12 consecutive years prior to elections. The Dallas Examiner does not endorse candidates. We seek to inform the community so that when they go to the polls, they are informed voters. All candidates who provide their email addresses on their applications when they file for office are invited to participate in Monday Night Politics. Monday Night Politics is not a debate, it's a forum designed to inform the community about the candidates' qualifications, their platform, etc. We could not present Monday Night Politics without our sponsors, who are nonprofit organizations, and they do not endorse either. In addition to Monday Night Politics, our website, www.dallasexaminer.com, has a section for voter education. Here you'll find current information about voting. Visit www.dallasexaminer.com. I would be remiss if I didn't mention two people who have worked with Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidates behind the scenes for over 12 years. The first person is Robin Jimenez, Vice President of Production and Editorial at the Dallas Examiner. The other person is Christy Thomas, Monday Night Politics Advisory Committee. We are happy tonight to have as our moderator Charles O'Neill. Charles is president of the Texas Association of African American Chambers of Commerce, and he was the first editor for the Dallas Examiner when the newspaper was founded by my father in 1986. Thank you for attending the forum tonight.
And welcome back to Monday Night Politics tonight, brought to you by the Dallas Examiner newspaper. And we have for us tonight a solo candidate for Dallas County Constable Precinct 4, the incumbent, Ed Wright. Constable Wright, you got as much time as anybody's ever had tonight to go.
It's going to be a while. I don't talk for a while, so you guys get ready. Appreciate you guys having me here, man. I am the Constable Precinct 4, Constable Ed Wright. I'm so happy to be here to talk to you guys about me and all the things I've done over the years with the Constable's office. I'm born and raised here in Dallas. Come from a family of 8. Mom and dad had 8 boys. I'm the last one, the youngest, the shortest in my family. Worked for the sheriff department for 30 years before I retired in 2018. Took office in 2019 along with some of my other constables here, and worked all over the sheriff department. I was there. I worked as an investigator for 20 years. I was on our SWAT/TAC team for about 7 years. So I have a lot of experience coming into the constable's office. After getting at the constable's office, I realized there were some things that needed to be changed. So when I got there, I understood that I wanted to make some changes. And the first thing I did was look at how our office was being run. And I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to change. I want to change the amount of officers that we have on the street. So what I decided to do was make our officers start working 10 hours. So I changed us from working from 8 hours to 10 hours. Now that put more officers out on the street to serve more paperwork. So what I did, I hired reserve officers, reserves/volunteer officers. Those officers would work the court. So I put those officers in the courts, took our officers in the court, put them out on the street. So now we have more officers working the streets. We have officers who are working 10 hours instead of 4 hours. Now those officers have 4 days, they're working 4 days, so they have 3 days off. So now those officers with 3 days off, they don't have to take a day off. They have a Monday or Friday off. What that does, what I'm explaining, what that does, that stops officers from calling in sick, that stops officers from taking off. That helps us to have more officers at work, and we get to do more work. But what we calculated, that going from 8 hours to 10 hours, that saved, and having the reserve officers work in the courts and put our officers out on the street, we calculated that saved our taxpayers over $50,000 since we did it because it saves on gas and it saves on us paying overtime. So I looked at it and said, these are things that you have to do. Constable Gully said this earlier. Experience, experience, experience. Experience matters. You can't be in this position without having experience. You got to know how to make those kind of decisions. You got to know how to make decisions about balancing a budget, about writing policies, doing things like that. You have to understand what it. I'm not sure who said it. One of them said it. You can't just be put in this position without the experience. You have to know the civil side of the law. It's easy to sit back. Constable Gully said it again. She makes it look easy. Sometimes we make this job look easy. Because we're not on the news, we're not being talked about, we're not getting in trouble. Because we know what we're doing our job.
Let me give you one question before you do your closing statement. You talked about savings on budget. How much of a battle is it to have an adequate budget allocated to the constable's office?
Maybe I should call everybody up so we talk about this together. Maybe I should call all of them up here and we talk about this together because it's a monster. It is one of the toughest things we go through each and every day because there's so many things that we want to do. There's so many different equipment that we want to have, that we want to give our officers, different things we want to be able to do to help out our community. So it's the hardest thing in the world having that money because you got to be able to balance your budget. Officers got to have the right equipment. They got to have the right uniforms. You got to have the right cars. And speaking of cars, one thing that I'm in discussion with our county administrator, Darryl Martin, is when our cars get to a certain point. This is another talking about saving money. When our cars get to a certain amount of miles, we have to change our cars out. What I'm in discussion with him about is going from our cars being gas fuel to alternative fuel. Again, that's going to save our taxpayers money. But you can't come in this position not knowing anything about the constable's office and say, okay, yeah, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to be out in the community. I'm going to make sure we throw some programs out there. You have to know what you're doing when you come in the office. You got to be able to get in there. You got to balance the budget. You got to know how to be out in the community. I have a ton of organizations, a ton of different things that I've started, programs that I've started, I should say, programs that I've started. If you give me a couple of seconds, I'll go over real quickly before I leave. I started a program called Let's Get Fit with Constable Wright. Found out I was diabetic about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I lost about maybe 20, 30 pounds. So what I did, I started a program. What I do, we go to our junior high school and our elementary schools, and we work out with kids. And we talk to kids about eating right and getting enough sleep, about drinking enough water. My wife and I started a scholarship program in 2021 where we give scholarships to kids that are graduating school, a TV, a VCR, microwave, out there bedding, and a Foot Locker to kids going to school. I didn't have that. I didn't have the opportunity to get that. So my wife and I started those programs for kids that are that scholarship program for kids that are going off to school. So I know my time is about up. So I will say that early voting ends this Friday. It ends this Friday. The election day is March the 1st, next Tuesday. Please go out there and vote for Constable Wright. Look me up on my website, and you can see a ton of things I do. I couldn't go through all of them. You'll see a ton of things I do. ConstableEdWright.com. Look me up, see all the things that I do in our community. I'm number 2 on the ballot, Constable Ed Wright. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Constable Ed Wright, looking for a re-election to Constable Precinct 4.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so
All
much,
right,
man.
appreciate
You
it.
know Charlie Neal?
Yes, yes.
Reese Move, man.